What's up, guys? So this video is the June month's symbols. So similar to the last one, we're going to look at the birthstones, the flowers, we got the Celtic tree sign, the Celtic animal sign, because they have two different zodiacs, which will be explored a little bit more in depth in future videos, each separately. The animal associated with the month of June from the Chinese zodiac, which is not actually the animal we're going to be talking about this month, just because of how their calendar works out and how I've been doing my videos, and then finishing off with the star signs. So yeah, so the all the links again in the description down below. The whattoexpect.com bit tells us that for June our zodiac is the Gemini star sign until June 20, and then it's Cancer. So we're going to be looking a little bit at those, obviously more in depth with Gemini than we are with Cancer, because Cancer is going to get its own video later in the month. We're going to be looking at the pearl as the stone. It says here it's long been associated with purity. They're the only gems that come from the sea, from living sea creatures, and they're also unique in that they require no faceting or polishing to reveal their beauty. They simply are what they are. Does also mention that most pearls these days are cultured, which means that they're grown under controlled conditions by farmers to ensure the perfect shape, and to try and get like certain colorations and stuff as well, because obviously blue and pink ones are more sought after because they are a rarer color in pearl. Other gemstones that this site doesn't mention are alexandrite and moonstone, so we're going to be looking at those as well. Flowers are the rose and the honeysuckle, and then, as I said, Celtic zodiac, Chinese zodiac. We're just going to sort of finish it off with that. So we're going to start with the stones, and then we'll sort of work our way through flowers to the tree, through animals into the zodiacs, just so it all sort of seems to, I think at least, flows a bit easier. So the stone predominantly for Gemini, I think, in this particular case, is alexandrite. Again, links below. Gem Society for all of the stones here. Alexandrite, emerald by day, ruby by night. Alexandrite is well known for displaying one of the most remarkable color changes in the gem world. It appears green in sunlight, or just any sort of natural light, and red in incandescent or like man-made artificial light. However, the modern June birthstone is so rare and expensive, few people have seen a natural alexandrite. This variety of gem quality chrysoberyl makes an excellent jewelry stone if you can acquire one. And obviously, having the two different colors and being able to swap between those, depending on, I could go into color temperature with you guys, which is the thing that I actually learned during my film studies, so I do have sort of a basic understanding of it. But basically, whether you're doing photography or film or whatever, natural light gives off more of sort of like I believe it's a yellow glow. So if you white balance yourself outside so that everything appears how you would see it, and then try using that same white balance inside, everything's going to come out looking yellow. Similarly, if you white balance everything inside and then go out to try and film anything outside, your shots are going to come out looking a little bit more blue, and that's where I think the color change comes in. There's obviously some sort of a chemical reaction, I would say, within the alexandrite that allows it to refract its the light that it shows and the color, therefore, that it shows based on color temperature. But being that it's got two different colors depending on what light you're looking at it in, obviously fits very well in with Gemini, which is the symbol of the twins and are seen as being very bipolar in their attitudes. So that's Alexandrite. Moonstone, our second of three, is beautiful. Found all over the world, moonstone is prized for its blue to white aduroescence, a billowy moonlight-like sheen. Despite being somewhat fragile, this alternative June birthstone is a popular choice for jewelry. Generally, the more transparent and colorless the body, and the more blue of its aduroescence or its pearlescence, or however you want to sort of word it, the higher the moonstone's value. You can get some that, if they're particularly high quality, when you're looking at them, it does almost look like they're filled with like billowing smoke inside them, kind of like the crystal balls in like Harry Potter and stuff, like the prophecies and whatnot, kind of given that sort of like general vibe, but obviously they're not actually filled with smoke. And then that brings us to the pearl, which we did also talk about a little bit, but again, only gems found within living creatures, both salt and freshwater mollusks. However, most pearls today are cultivated, since they now occur extremely rarely in nature, and we can thank the floating island of trash in the Pacific for that, I think, which means that we can thank ourselves for not being able to have as many naturally occurring pearls anymore. For obviously a multitude of reasons: eating the mollusks themselves, population, destruction of environment, pollution, all that sort of stuff. So while they require special care, pearls have an enduring appeal for jewelry, particularly as the traditional June birthstone. So we've had a modern one, an alternative one, and the traditional. And I'm sure you can go and look up their meanings and stuff online until I find a site that actually tells me the meanings of gems and potentially what sort of personalities they might give to people born as that with their birthstone. This is the best we got. Onto flowers. The rose. The rose is one of the most famous and beloved of all flowers, as William Shakespeare once wrote, "What's in a name? That which we call by a rose, but any other name would smell as sweet." Roses have been revered for centuries. Historical evidence shows they were grown in China about 5,000 years ago, and they have continued to play a part in history ever since. So what does the rose mean? It has many meanings, which vary depending on its color. However, any rose can be commonly seen as a symbol of love, honor, faith, beauty, balance, passion, wisdom, intrigue, devotion, sensuality, and timelessness, which is nice. In addition to being one of the most popular flowers commercialized and grown today, you will often find rose tattoos on men and women as an expression of timeless beauty and other vivid meanings, obviously chief among them being love, as it is also the favored flower of most ancient love goddesses. This site that I have has a little subsection that says symbolism of the rose flower. There's six little paragraphs there. Not wanting to get too tied up on this because we've got so much else to cover, but it's there if you want to go and look at it, linked below. What are we doing here? This is supposed to be the honeysuckle page, and it's not. Here we are. No, here we are not. Give me. I was certain I had. let's see if we can get onto the honeysuckle. What are we doing? Now it's just gonna screw me around. Great. Okay. I'm just gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. Not even there. Okay. Alright, so what have we got here then? There are, on this same site, the page that this one's on is the June birth flower. We're only going to get facts about it because I just had a look and there's not actually any symbolism behind the honeysuckle according to this website. But here's what we got. There are about 200 species of honeysuckle plants. The flowers grow on woody shrubs or vines and range in colour from white, yellow, and pink to red. These fragrant flowers attract hummingbirds and butterflies, filling the garden with colour and movement in early summer. Consider these interesting facts about the honeysuckle. The flowers are pollinated by hummingbirds and butterflies. It just said that. The ancients used honeysuckle berries to make dye for like clothing and stuff. A honeysuckle sachet under the pillow is thought to bring pleasant dreams. During Victorian times, it was planted by the front door to keep witches away, and it is used in cosmetics and perfumes. Both the rose and the honeysuckle flower send the message of love. Which one you choose depends on the recipient. Roses add an air of sophistication and elegance to the day, while honeysuckle speaks of nature and all its beauty. If your loved one's into gardening, consider giving them a rose bush in their favourite colour or a honeysuckle vine to attract butterflies and hummingbirds to the yard. If you can't decide between, give them one of each. Always check that live plants are hardy in your location so your loved one can enjoy them for years to come. Alright, let's move on to the Celtic tree. We are in June, which means that we have the mighty oak tree. The oak moon falls during a time when the trees are beginning to reach their full blooming stages. The mighty oak is strong, powerful, and typically towering over all its neighbours. The oak king rules over the summer months, and this tree was sacred to the Druids. The Celts called this month Diu, which some scholars believe to mean door, and is also the root word of Druid itself. The oak is connected with spells for protection and strength, fertility, money and success, and good fortune. It was believed that if you carried an acorn in your pocket, whenever you went into an interview or a business meeting, it would bring you good luck. If you catch a falling oak leaf before it hits the ground, you'll stay healthy the following year. It's also a belief as well. Interesting thing about the oak as well, not just the Celts revered this tree, it is the tree associated with Zeus as well as king of the gods, likely because it does tower over every other tree that was believed to have any sort of significance. And being such a tall tree, obviously it's going to be the king's tree, and that's why whenever you're trying to, a lot of castles would have doors made of oak for that reason, because it does invoke this like sense of like it says, protection, strength, success, good fortune, as well as having this like air of nobility about it as well, which is kind of cool. The animal associated with June is the white horse, unless you were born before June 10, in which case it's the fox. But considering that, 21 out of 31 days of the month is the white horse, we're going to look at that today. The white horse is a sign of meaning purity, spirituality, and godliness. Filled with strength and stamina, it's caring and helpful. It loves its freedom and to travel, and it's quite lucky in finances, and is a natural leader. The Chinese zodiac animal associated with June, and we're talking here from June 6 onwards, going to July 6 if we're going to the very latest date for this particular sign, but it's the horse. Now we are in the 6th month, so we're going to be looking at the snake later this month, but the horse is June's animal, which is kind of interesting. It comes in halfway through Gemini and leaves halfway through Cancer, with June 21, June 22 being sort of the crossover for Gemini and Cancer, and it being basically 2 weeks after and 2 weeks before the start and the end of the horse. So if you're ever trying to figure out what zodiac animal your month is, generally, if you can remember that the Western zodiac signs typically change around about the 20th, 23rd, it's pretty easy to work out that the Chinese zodiacs change between the 4th and the 8th, about 2 weeks earlier. But yeah, very interesting stuff. So yeah, the horse, which obviously we'll do a more in-depth one on, but do we have any symbolism here? We do not. Okay. I was hoping that it would give me some symbolism, but it hasn't. That's okay. Anyway, finishing off Gemini, we've already looked at this, so this one's going to be very quick. It loads. Okay. Deep breath. Let's see how much of this we can get through as quickly as possible. Alright, so as we've already talked about, Mercury is Gemini's planetary ruler, and it's representative of the messenger of the gods. It's the planet of the day-to-day expression and communication. Its action is to take things apart and put them back together again. It's an opportunistic planet, decidedly unemotional and curious. It analyzes, sorts, groups, and makes sense of things, as does Gemini. The Gemini glyph depicts two lines joined together, showing the symbolism of the twins and the duality of the nature of the sign, just like the duality and the nature of the Alexandrite, as we were talking about before. The symbol of two pillars joined at the top and bottom also symbolizes the union of intellect and intuition. And I have got a bit of... The flowers associated with Gemini are the lily, which represents love, happiness, and humility, and lavender, which represents refinement and elegance. And those, at least the lily of the valley, was a flower from last month. So if you want to hear that a little bit more in depth, go and check that out. I will also link the playlist for that below. I spent a lot of time making a lot of playlists yesterday, so there will be a playlist linked below as well if you want to go check that out. Gemini's element is air. Air signs are intellectual, detached, and fair-minded. While air signs share the same element, they each have a different modality. Gemini is mutable, therefore being considered the most adaptable of the air signs. It takes an intellectual or mental approach to life. Geminis are said to have a dual nature, as symbolized by the twins. This duality also represents exchange and interaction. The sign of Gemini is closely associated with the exchange of ideas, communication, and trade, which is also something that Mercury and Hermes was associated with as well. The sign of Gemini is thought to be very adaptable and flexible, sometimes to the point of being two different personalities. Very interesting. I'm pretty sure last month my mental health thing was bipolar, and then we also did Gemini. Very interesting stuff. The Greeks assigned twins to Gemini, represented by the stars Castor and Pollux, who were also the twin brothers of Helen of Troy. one's father was Zeus, the other's was the King Tyndareus of Sparta, and when Castor was killed during the Battle of Troy, during the Trojan War, Pollux asked his father Zeus if he could share his immortality with him, and they became the constellation Gemini. They are also known by the name of Dioscuri. The mutable signs are flexible, adaptable, and changeable, although they can be inconsistent and lack follow-through. They are ready to make small changes and adjustments to accommodate others. And as we mentioned before, Gemini is the mutable air sign. Mercury's glyph, so its planetary ruler's glyph or symbol, resembles that of Venus with the addition of a semicircle on top. The circle, if you sort of see it as like a horned person with no legs, the circle at the top, or the head, represents spirit, while the cross underneath the body and the arms represents matter, resulting in receptivity, which is what the horns or the crescent on top is a symbol for. This suggests the evaluation of the senses through rational thought. Basically, they're receptive to their like matters of the spirit. They're receptive to the material world through their spirit. That's what we got. The metal associated with Gemini is Quicksilver, also known as Mercury, which is its planetary ruler, which is cool. Gemstones associated with Gemini are the agate, representing strength and said to help to reduce stress, dizziness, and headaches, particularly useful for the often mentally stressed or stimulated Gemini sign. And the emerald, representing love, and as we read from the little quote before, to do with Alexandrite, emerald by day, ruby by night, Alexandrite. The agate was worn to ward off sickness, madness, and bad weather, and to attract success in friendship. The cryo phrase is also connected to the sign and said to enhance cheerfulness. Color associated with Gemini is yellow, connected to optimism, cheerfulness, friendliness, lightheartedness, and freshness. As the third sign of the zodiac, it's also associated with the third house, which rules the mind, communication, interactions with our immediate environment, our siblings and early environment, our neighbors, our thoughts, short trips, writing and speaking, practical thinking, how we classify and examine information, how we hear news and or gossip, and for spreading news, mental dexterity, our lungs, airways, hands, letters, emails, documents, telephones, the neighborhood, everyday mental chores and mental activities, means of transportation, speech, and more. Its lucky number is 5. Its lucky days are 5, 14, and 23. Lucky years are, I've done a numerology video. Anything that you would be able to boil down to a 5, it's going to be a lucky year. So 2003, 1994, 2012, next year, lucky years for Geminis. As the sum of the first even and odd, it says even and odd numbers, but then gives 2 and 3. I think it's supposed to be prime numbers. Number 5 is considered special and protective. Gemini is a masculine, positively charged yang or outgoing sign, depending on how you want to look at it. Basically, all air and fire signs are this. Gemini is considered a barren sign for planting, and its tree is the walnut tree. Body parts or anatomy associated with Gemini are the shoulders, arms, hands, fingers, and lungs. When it comes to health, Gemini is associated with breathing and the power of a positive mindset. It also rules, along with Mercury, connectors and tubes in the body and the nerves. Learning, breathing, or speech difficulties can come under its rule. And I still have one leaky nostril. It's not. It's as fun as I make it out to be, and that is to say, it's not. Cool. That's pretty much all we need to know about Gemini. Let's try and breeze through Cancer without giving too much away, because we still want something to be able to talk about in that video. We may go a little bit more into symbolism, I think, in the Cancer video. But its flowers are the water lily and the magnolia. Its ruling planet is the moon. It is a water sign, similar to Scorpio and Pisces, which are the other water signs. Its symbol is a crab, but we all know that. I will get into its glyph in the Cancer video itself, because that's a particularly interesting thing, and I want to sort of save it for that. A crab is able to walk or run sideways. Similarly, Cancer natives can sometimes move about in life in a figurative sense, in an indirect manner. There's a whole bunch of other symbolism here of how they move like crabs, or how they are like crabs in their life. Cancer was connected to the scarab symbol to represent resurrection. It is a cardinal sign, and I will talk more about, I have talked about cardinal signs. This is our second of the year, the first one being Aries. We will talk about cardinal signs again. Its metal is silver. It is related to the pearl, this month's gem. Pearls symbolize integrity, loyalty, wisdom, and calm. Traits also associated with the sign. It does say here emeralds are also connected to Cancer, as well as the moonstone, which is thought to help bring lovers back together or back together. And cat's eye is another one. Cancer's colours are violet, silver, and white, although not technically a colour. White symbolises purity, innocence, and safety. Keywords also associated with Cancer. As the fourth sign, it rules the fourth house. We've been through this. We will talk more about that when we get to it. The cusp of the fourth house is a special angle called the IC, or Imam Coli, and it's also called the nadir. And I'm really happy that word comes up, because I know exactly what that means, and I will explain that more when we get to the Cancer video. But basically, for now, it's like the lowest point sort of thing. I think Tropic of Cancer is also the lower end of the tropics, and Capricorn's in the northern hemisphere, I think. The fourth house is an angular house. We have talked about houses, and they have their own modalities, similar to the star signs being cardinal, mutable, or fixed. Houses can be angular. Cancer's lucky number is 2. It's a feminine, negatively charged yin or receptive sign, like all other earth and water signs. It's considered highly fertile for planting. Its trees, the apple, cypress, and fir, which, if you go back to the sort of opening page that I was looking at in the links below, apple, cypress, and fir, I'm pretty sure are trees that it lists as being June trees, but obviously not what we talked about. Body parts of the anatomy associated with Cancer are the breasts and stomach or womb. It's a very fertile sign. It's a water sign. It makes sense. We'll get into all of its anatomy and health in its video. We don't need to talk about that bit. Its dates will be in its video. Cool. I think the only other thing was... no. So it says here, Cancer is connected to the midsummer season. The beginning of the sign of Cancer is called the Tropic of Cancer, and the sun, when here reaches its limit of north declination or southern elevation, which actually doesn't make sense, considering that, unless I got it wrong, maybe the Tropic of Capricorn's the lower one. I don't know. I'll figure it out and I'll get back to you. But yeah, the summer solstice also means the sun standing still, and the thing that I thought was connected to it was the strawberry moon being during the solstice. But I'm pretty sure if that was to happen, no, actually that would happen during the first couple of days of Cancer. So yeah, fun times. Anyway, that's it for this video. I did try to get through those last bits as quickly as possible. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you made it this far, thank you so much. Please consider hitting the subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me, and the notification bell if you want to see more videos when they get uploaded. And until next time, guys, keep your head screwed on.